शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः जलेऽस्मिन् सन्निधिं कुरु श्रवणनयनजं वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा सकलं परस्मै
Namaste friends and viewers, very warm welcome to the new video, and this is the part 2 of the previous video which was the 10 factors affecting our health as per Ayurveda. So I'm going to discuss about the remaining 5. We left on the 5th one. So the 6th factor which affects our health is a mental and emotional factor. So our life is a wholesome thing. We need to understand our life is a whole consisting of body, mind and pure consciousness, and it contributes to health and diseases at the same time. So health and disease would be affected by both psychological as well as the physical factors. So mind and body is never considered separate. That is very important thing to understand as we talk about the psychosomatic aspect of our existence in Yoga and Ayurveda. So every thought, perception, feeling and emotion, whether positive or negative, is nothing but a biochemical event that influences the doshas, cells, organs and tissues and so on. For example, increased vata is associated with anxiety, insecurity, fear, nervousness, restlessness, confusion, grief, whereas the increased pitta is associated with anger and envy, hate, ambition, jealousy, comparativeness, judgmental attitude, sharp speech and controlling attitude. You can relate it with my other videos, and if my students are watching it, then they can definitely understand because they have followed this in their course tutorials. Like increased cough is associated with greed, attachment, persiveness, boredom, laziness and so these are the particular traits. You can relate it with the aggravation of doshas as well. So emotions have affinity with certain organs as well. For example, grief and sadness can be associated with lungs and hearts. So if somebody is holding a lot of grief and sadness, then the organs that would be affected would be lungs and heart. Whereas the anger is associated with liver. If you are in a lot of anger and rage, then your digestion goes wrong because the liver metabolism goes up and down. Whereas the hatred with the gallbladder and kidneys for fears, and nervousness is associated with colon. So a lot of people, when they feel nervous, they would have butterflies in their stomach. Actually it is the lower abdomen where the colon is there, and agitation and temptation is associated with stomach. So you can say agitation, temptation, nervousness is associated with stomach and abdomen, which people can relate actually when they feel something in the abdomen. You know, gut feeling, nervousness, all these things comes from stomach. The spleen with attachments. Next factor, which is the 7th one, I would say the very important factor affecting our health is stress. We don't have to actually introduce it because everybody is experiencing stress in today's modern world, thanks to our lifestyle and a lot of other causative factors. I cannot talk much about it because otherwise this video would be too long, but I'm going to give you the the idea how the stress really affects us. So modern medicine actually views stress as the result of a particular lifestyle or overexertion, overwork or emotional trauma and so on. That leads to certain conditions eventually. Whereas Ayurveda views stress as a causative factor. It doesn't view it as a lifestyle or something that is related to certain conditions, but it actually views it as one of the causative reason of all the disease and disorders. So if you have a regular routine, nourishing diet, positive emotions, and if you nurture loving relationships, that would result in the health and the well-being. Whereas the opposite of it, like if you don't have a proper lifestyle, your eating, your sleeping, the patterns are not good, you don't follow the regimens and routines, and you are undergoing through a tremendous emotional, workplace, and the personal stress in your life, and also you are taking alcohol, you're smoking cigarettes, and you're taking too much of coffee and stimulants, then all this would actually create an imbalance in the dosha. So stress disturbs the doshas and create imbalances, make no mistake about it, and then your base constitution is aggravated. Mostly it gets aggravated, and that particular condition would be induced. So stress can not only cause diseases and disorders if being ignored, but in the shorter run or in the as a reaction, stress is nothing but a reaction to an imbalance in your emotions or your thought process. It can actually trigger allergies, asthma, and a lot of conditions that people face day to day, like headaches and migraines, and it may lead to the heart conditions as well. So as I mentioned that Vata people, when they get stressed, they would have symptoms like anxiety, grief, nervousness, agitation, whereas when Pitta people get stressed, they might lose their temper, they might have a lot of judgmental attitude, and they might also have acidity, whereas when Kapha people get stressed, they might have a lot of attachment, grief, and they might cry, and they might also feel boredom, and they might go for isolation. So stress is a very, very important aspect, and we cannot really ignore it. It's not possible to eliminate stress from our life, but we can always manage it. Well, the next factor is basically the misuse of senses and the sensual pleasures. So our senses give us great pleasure as well as the vital information that we process, and that's how we sustain and we manage to live. They are the gateways of the knowledge, because no information can pass through without these five senses. I mean to say, no information coming from the outside world can bypass these five senses. Ordinarily, these senses of touch, taste, sight, smell, and hearing can actually nourish us a lot and heal us through different therapies. Like we have heard about aromatherapy, massage therapy, Reiki, and all these, which involves different senses. There are different healing modalities that people use to heal people. But we need to understand that as all our perceptions as well as our own thoughts and feelings are nothing but the biochemical events which are also experiences. So any misuse or improper use of senses can create imbalances in our doshas, in our emotions, mind and body states, and eventually cause illness. So overuse of senses strains and stresses our nervous system and aggravate our doshas. For example, just want to give some examples here that overexposure to sunlight would cause aggravation of Pitta and also would damage your retina and your eyes, because you're exposing yourself, and even it can cause skin cancer with the harmful UV-B and the ultraviolet rays. It can also give you a lot of aggravation of Pitta, also aggravation of Vata. Whereas hearing a loud music and disturbing music which is not soothing all the time can not only damage your ears and eardrums, but can also aggravate Vata and can lead to the systemic Vata disorders like arthritis and degenerative disease of the bones. Eating a large quantity of wrong food, I'm talking about the taste now, so wrong food or overindulgence in eating different kind of food, especially the sharp stimulating food, spicy, hot, or too much of one food category would actually lead to the disturbance, either aggravation or diminution of the dosha, eventually leading to a particular disorder. So we need to understand that these senses are to be used in balance, and we have to use in moderation. Also, using too much of gadgets, this is particularly very important because it is so relevant. We cannot avoid gadgets. Even I'm using it to reach people there. for business, for professional, personal reasons. People use it these days. Different social media accounts are there and you just simply cannot avoid it, but then we have to make sure that we use in moderation and do not really misuse through overindulgence, because a lot of people get hooked to their gadgets, their smartphones and laptops for the whole day and months, and then they not only give a lot of strain and stress to their eyes, to their nervous system, and to their mind and body states, eventually aggravating Vata dosha. So this is a very important aspect that we need to understand. We need to use our senses, but in moderation, and do not overindulge into sensual pleasure so that you enter into a state of imbalances. Well, the next factor is knowing better. So very often we get sick as we disregard our own knowledge and wisdom. This knowledge and wisdom is inherent within us and we all are having it. It's just that we have to connect to our own core, and if we do not have that connection, then there are Ayurveda teachers like me. There are a lot of information on internet, YouTube, different channels and videos are there which you can always watch, like this one, and educate yourself to get in touch with the ancient wisdom that you already have, and so you start using it. Understanding our prakriti, our psychobiological constitution, is a great knowledge, and we all have that. As I said, how certain foods, for instance, can disturb our mind-body system and lead to disease, while others can balance our states and lead to health and well-being. We need to understand it. Still, we follow our impulses and wrong habits because of compulsive behavior, because those habits have been ingrained within our psyche so strongly that we cannot avoid it. We just stick to it. But if we use this beautiful cosmic universal intelligence which is within us, and we follow this time and time and make it a habit, and we follow these principles, ancient principles of Ayurveda, then I don't see any reason why we would not be able to achieve the health and well-being that we all are looking for. And the last but the most important factor which actually affect our health and well-being is relationships. So our life is relationship. I mean, we are related to the earth, moon, sun, the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat. We are related to our friends, family, children, spouse, and co-workers, and I mean, so many things we are related to. We are related to our jobs, we are related to our body, thoughts, feelings, of course, our bank account and the financial status, the house we own. I mean, a lot of things. I mean, if I start talking about all of them, then probably I would just end up talking about it instead of focusing on my topic, which is the relationships. So often we use personal relationships as a sort of power game or to control others. It becomes such a battlefield rather than a field of love. And it drains our energy, and it really kind of creates a lot of conflict within us, and resentment and hatred, jealousy, anger, all these negative emotions eventually come out of all this kind of power games that we play. Desire to control others, which is such a futile desire actually, because we cannot control anybody except ourselves in this life. So when a negative emotion comes up in our relationships, like past resentment, hurt, insult, anger, betrayal, fear, anxiety, or criticism, it could be anything. These are nothing but the emotions. So pay attention to the feeling. Don't judge the other person or yourself. When, for example, when your spouse or lover says something to you and you dislike it and it creates a negative emotion within you, you feel hurt or angry, look inside yourself to witness your own thoughts and feelings. Be honest, because out of honesty comes clarity. Okay? And clarity is very important. When there is no clarity within your relationships, then feelings tend to get repressed. It gets worse when communication is also absent at times of crisis in our relationships. Then eventually the stress builds up, and this is one of the major causes of illness in Ayurveda, along with other supportive major or minor causes, which we already discussed. So stress actually disrupts our inner biochemistry and doshas are thrown out of the balance. There and there the seeds of the disease are being sown. So clarity in relationships are very important. It develops compassion, and compassion is nothing but love. So I would say that love is clarity then, and love is key to the success of all relationships. So if you kind of summarize it, then all the 10 factors that I've talked about is pretty much in our hands, whether we use wisely to kind of imbalance our doshas, which leads to our good health and well-being, or we tend to choose the opposite side of it, where it aggravates and imbalances our dosha and takes us to the path of disease and misery. Even the factors which are considered to be beyond our control, like season and weather, we can definitely adjust to those uncontrolled factors as well. Like if it is hot, then we can choose our right food, right clothes, and if it is too cold, then we can wear warm clothes and adopt to a lifestyle which is conducive for the winter or the cold season or weather. So hope you like this topic, and please give your constructive comments and suggestions and feedback in the comment section, so that I can understand what you are processing out of it, and also suggest me the topics on which you would like me to make videos. Your support and your suggestion are extremely valuable. I appreciate it. So namaste, thank you. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, take a very good care of yourself. For more such informative videos on yoga and Ayurveda, subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the notification bell.